Milford Board of Selectmen meeting for January 14th at 7 p.m. Tonight's meeting is being broadcast by Milford local cable television. First agenda item is signing of the warrant,
Make a motion to approve?
and I would second that and make that unanimous. Next is the approval of the November 26, 2018 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to put those off to a future executive session, Mike, but I'll make a motion to approve the December 17.
And I would make that unanimous as well. Next agenda item is invitation to speak. Is anybody here for invitation to speak? Not seeing anybody. We do have a public hearing tonight. It's 7:05. It's Avisha looking for a license to increase the size of their tanks. Is anybody here from Avisha?
Yep.
Come right up.
Right, it's right in the front row, yeah.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Natalia Olive. I'm the Director for Environmental Health and Safety with Nido Denko Avisha. And our request is to increase our license to accommodate an additional waste tank where we're storing Class 2 combustible liquids for waste that are then shipped off-site. So that's the only change is the additional tank. So what you have in front of you is, I believe, the original license, a diagram showing the 5 tanks. There were 4, now there's a 5th one. If not, I have that on me. We were inspected by the Milford Fire Department about 10 days ago.
Yep.
They already issued the permit for flammable storage, so this was just the amendment for the Chapter 148 license.
Okay.
Any questions, Will?
No, that was my only question, and going through the department head review form, everything looks like it's already in compliance. Again, it's just an amendment to the license. So, no, I don't have any problem. No question.
So the department head review form, so the town planner, okay, no change in actual use. Tax collector, no outstanding liens. Town treasurer, Chris Pillar, fine. Fire department has no objections at all. Police department, no objections or concerns at all. Board of Health is all on board as well. So,
Mr. Chairman, if the only thing, could I get the names of the 2 gentlemen sitting with you for the
Sure.
record? Sure.
I'm Adam Michaud. I'm the Director of Facilities at Nido Avisha.
Adam, how do you spell your last name?
Michaud.
Director of Facilities?
And Mark Boyle, Director of Program Management.
Mark, your last name?
Boyle, B-O-Y-L-E.
Yeah. And Director of?
Program Management.
Okay, thank you.
before we vote, is there anybody here that would like to speak at the public hearing? Okay.
No, I will make a motion to amend the license for Chapter 148 so they can add the additional tank.
And I would second that and make that unanimous.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
Thank you.
You all set? Thank you.
Trying to make it easy.
Next agenda item is scheduled appointments. First scheduled appointment is Downtown Revitalization Committee.
Like the chairs.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Michael?
Go ahead.
Okay, I guess we're here, we got Laura Mann, Tony Pinto, I'm Ronnie Pagnini, and we're here to, just to give you an update on what's going on. I usually send you guys an email, and I've been so busy I forgot to do that. You would have got one over the next week or so, but Rick asked us to come in just to give you an update. So we got a lot going on. I've been very busy and active, a lot of things behind the scenes happening. One thing that's finally coming together is that facade program, which we were, about a year ago, we were here talking about it. And the procedures and process are starting to line up and come together. I'm going to have Laura speak a little bit in a few minutes on part of that. we've got about 10 to 12 applications that have come in, which will probably use quite a bit of the money. I did go walk the beat and try to see as many people as I could, handing out applications and explaining the program. But it's been out there. They can get online and get the application. But it does take talking to people and asking them to be part of it, because they do have to come up with some money, and it takes a little bit of effort to fill out the application, and there's requirements that are needed. So it takes a little bit there. And I'm going to have Laura in a couple minutes talk about her side of the facade program. Maybe you want to do that now, Laura?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, yeah. So we created a subcommittee of our committee to just review the applications as they came in. We're obviously just recommending and trying to review them in a systematic way to evaluate them all equally. The subcommittee is Tony Pinto, who's here, Josh Leoch, and myself. We've started going through them. There's missing information, and so right now we're waiting for the town. And in fact, Rick and I have spoken a few times, and we're going to probably be meeting this week with town council and go through the zoning, because obviously we can't even review anything until we confirm there's no tax liens, the zoning is in compliance or will be in compliance through the use of these funds. So we need to get through that hurdle, and then we need to say, okay, do we have all the information that's required under the applications? And at that point, we'll start the review of everything, and then we will be recommending to your board as to, giving you the criteria and the evaluation, because obviously we have no power, nor do we want any power in the decision. We're just trying to make it easier for you to review it systematically, come up with an evaluation process. We have an evaluation process. And we will then say, okay, they have qualified, we think they're, a scale of 1 to 10, they're an 8 because they're on a corner or whatever. We have certain criteria we're trying to meet. So that's really where we are. And, the three of us will meet. Because some of our committee members will be filing either now or in the future applications, we've removed those people from the process, which is why it's left with Josh, Tony, and me, because we don't have any interest in any of the properties, any of the applications at all. So we're trying to sort of have a Chinese wall there and not have involvement of anybody other than who might have an interest in an application.
Geographically, what area are you working on?
Yeah, well, it is the downtown district that we specified in the study. It's a mapped-out area, so it's any building within that downtown district, which is from Sacred Heart Church
Okay.
to just beyond, right near Water Street. And then it's all the way down to the bottom of Central Street and all of Exchange Street, that main intersection. And then it does go in front of Memorial, the museum there.
Memorial Hall.
Right.
Memorial Hall.
Right.
Yeah.
And up Spruce Street. And then in front of where the old theater used to be, that road, Park Street,
Park Street.
and right around there. So that's the downtown, we call it the downtown district, and there is a map. So anybody that butts that outline is available for this program.
And it's all going off of the Beals and Thomas report. So we're sort of taking their criteria and their recommendations, and we're following off of that. And there's certain things we'd rather, we want to get the most bang for the buck. So if a property has more visibility, then that might get a little higher on our scale. Not to say that they won't qualify, but we need to have a system to evaluate and try to prioritize. And hopefully we'll get more funds in the future so that hopefully all properties and all applications will be at one point approved, but there's no way of knowing, given the amounts and the amount of money involved. So, there are some logistical, we need to make sure the zoning, the no tax liens, we need to make sure that they have the funds to pay their part. And all of this work has to get done by the end of June for the funding, the way the grant works. So we're trying to push this along now.
Yeah. Sort of in the town's hands right now. Rick probably can talk on that.
Yeah, Rick and I have spoken, and we're
yeah,
going to meet this
okay.
week to
sort
move
of-
that along.
Yeah.
just, it's really on the zoning and on, you know, making sure the compliance. And then we need to notify the people that, whose applications are in, who didn't give us all the information we need, and encourage them to do it as quickly as possible. And that's really the holdup. It's, you know, it's difficult because a lot of these people don't have their own, you know, counsel or engineers, and they're not as familiar with this. Some might be tenants, and you need to get the landlord's consent, and, you know, there's some logistical things that will take a little time. So we're trying to push it as much as we can.
And we have Henry, the architect that was hired. He's all on board, he's all ready to go. He's gonna do the, he's gonna help each landlord, and he's gonna be the in-between person and help with the design, you know, picking colors or the style of sign. He'll do an initial drawing of, to give him an idea what it will look like, and then it can go out to bid. And that's the other thing, we do have a company that's been vetted, that's gonna take care of the whole project, oversee the whole project. And Henry, the architect, is gonna be a key person, that will be the in-between person with the company that's been hired to do this, and the landlords, after they just make the decision on, you make the decision on who gets the bid, who gets the job. I mean, who gets the facade, the funds for the facade program.
So, just a question, and I don't mean to put you on the spot by any means, but within that district, so say from Sacred Heart Church, what you described to Water Street, Central Street, Spruce Street, up by around Memorial, do you have a rough idea of how many businesses there are?
Yeah, there's probably, well, it's properties. I'm gonna say there's probably 50 to 60 properties, and I spent quite a bit of time last year documenting the real troubled properties that run down. And most of those landlords I've talked to, and most of the key people are on board to do something. If they're vetted the right way, they can be part of it. So a lot of them are, within the last year, have, on their own, for one reason or another, like the architect's building on Sumner Street, corner of Sumner and Main, he's already done that. The gas station across the street, they painted what we wanted them to do. They already did it on their own. There's 3 or 4 other properties that have been touched up since, believe it or not, yeah. But there's quite a few that are gonna just sit there until we get this program going, yeah.
Will?
No, I really don't have any questions. I was able to make it to a meeting a couple of weeks ago with you guys, and thank you for that. And they're just doing a lot of work, and this is something that they're all very passionate about, and I just want to applaud you and publicly recognize you folks, because it's a lot of work you guys are doing in your free time. So I really appreciate it, and I think word's getting out. It's funny, people are starting to spruce. I'm hearing about that myself. It's been quite the topic of conversation over the last few months that it wasn't just something that was talked about. You guys are actually making things happen, and I think people want to help if they can,
Yep.
and help make our town a little bit more inviting, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that, we did hire Mitch Rossetti, who's a local happens to be a local person, to do the grant writing for the downtown area mainly, but also for the town. And he's already on the floor running, and he's doing all the groundwork as we speak. The goal, and I didn't realize how involved it is, but it's quite involved. I was on a conference call with the Massachusetts Downtown Initiative person and another person from the state with Mitch as an introduction. And there's a lot to it, but he's got an overall big picture of a very large grant that will take most of the year to work through, and he'll be doing that directly with Rick, through Rick, and the people from the state, and they're gonna be coming down January 29th, I think Mitch might have mentioned it.
They move it to
too.
next week, but they
Next
will be
week,
coming
you did,
down.
okay. Yep, so they wanna walk the beat, they wanna meet Rick, if anybody else can be part of that, Rick, that's up to you. And, you know, they wanna meet me and show them what we have in mind, with Rick and Mitch. And they know Milford. They remember the people that were doing this job years ago. And They just want to see where we're coming from, and we made a nice connection when I went to the Massachusetts initiative in October 1st. The 351 towns were there, and I met Emmy Hahn, who is the head of this, and through that, we were able, they gave us heads up on a $15,000 grant, which Mitch, on his own, helped us write, and with Rick's help, too. They submitted it for November 9th, and we're going to find out in the next week or two if we get this $15,000 grant, which will be used for housing and zoning assistance, which we thought would be a nice idea to help us to understand what other towns like that have been revitalized, how they went with their zoning and their housing. It's a pretty big thing with the state is housing in the downtown areas. They want more people to live downtown. So we're going to find out in the next week or two if we get that, and that's from making a good connection there in Lowell.
Yeah, Mitch has been extremely helpful, and he feels that a lot of our, the way our downtown is and a lot of the attributes of Milford, that we will qualify for a number of different grants. So he's a key, because this is what he does. He's from the area, he knows it, and he's been very helpful. And he's just on his own been helping us also, which has
absolutely,
been
yeah.
helpful.
Great.
And he was, I know, involved with the
Youth Center.
Youth Center.
Youth Center.
Very involved,
Yeah.
He's been directly talking with Rick and the state now, and he's on the move. And the other person I want to mention is that architect Henry Arnado. He's going to be doing a lot of work. In other words, a lot of extra work also. He wants to. He's part of downtown. He wants to do above and beyond his contract, and he will. He's a good guy. So
That's great.
I'll give him kudos.
Well, thank you for all your hard work, and thank you for your efforts, and thank you for your update.
Good, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you soon. Have a good night.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, next scheduled appointment, and please forgive me for this. Tarkrilla La Estrella, new common vicular's license. Best I could for an Irishman. Welcome. Go right ahead.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Suzette Ferreira. I'm here tonight with Mr. Eusebio Ruelas, Mr. Alejandro Ruelas, Mr. Rito Gonzalez Cueva, and
Mario Franco.
Mario Franco, who is the accountant. We are here tonight because they actually would like to open and operate La Taqueria Estrella,
Better than I
located
did.
at the, at the Old Carnivores location at 134 South Main Street. This is going to be a smaller type of Mexican takeout restaurant, but there will be some seating. With that being said, they are looking to renovate the bathrooms. They're hoping to pull that permit hopefully by the end of this week, and they would not open for business until the bathrooms have been completely renovated and inspected by the building inspector prior to opening. Mr. Ruelas is actually one of the owners of Acapulco's, so he is actually looking to expand the restaurant business to the other side of town. So he does have a lot of experience, and hopefully it's, ends up being a good area for this type of smaller style Mexican takeout restaurant.
Great. Well,
Yeah, Suzette, obviously you just had addressed it, because obviously it came up that the bathrooms need to be renovated, so that'll make them accessible. But it said there was no permit, so is that all straightened out or will be?
They are going to pull a permit. He actually had hoped that it was going to be pulled today. It wasn't done today, but he hopes to pull that building
Okay, so-
permit this week.
So that, would you be comfortable if we obviously vote to approve with that as the caveat?
Absolutely, yes, yes.
That's my only question, Mike.
okay. So again, I'm going to review the department head review form. So the building commissioner, as Selectman Kincaid just said, restroom handicapped accessible, zoning Building is accessible, bathrooms are to be renovated and to be accessible, but no permit as of yet. Town planner, no change in actual use. Tax collector, no outstanding liens. Town treasurer, no, again, outstanding liens. Fire chief, approval pending final fire inspection before opening. Police chief has no issues or concerns. And again, we come back to the Board of Health in the process of complying with our pre-opening requirement. I have no problem with the Board of Selectmen issuing them a common vicular's license. They are in the same owners as Acapulco's and never had any issues or concerns with them. The Commissioner of the Board of Health. So I would second Selectman Kincaid's recommendation, and pending you meet all the requirements, that I would vote in favor as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the common victular for Taqueria La Estrella. Estela? I want to say it right.
Estrella.
Estella, okay. The double L's.
Yeah.
Okay, and just with the caveat that the permit is pulled when.
Correct. And I would second that and make that unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
you.
Have a good night.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank
should
you.
definitely stop by when it's open.
Oh, I will. Take care.
Yeah.
Take care.
It looks like we don't miss many meals. Okay. And the next on schedule appointments is Town Council. Route 16 TIP project order of taking. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Selectman Kincaid. This is a follow-up to the taking that we did last November with regard to the Route 16 traffic improvement project. I think you already have a copy in your package of the takings, if you do? Okay. So, in a nutshell, last time I was before you on this project, and the large number of takings that we did back in November, we had separated out about 6 takings that we were doing with Milford Regional Hospital. And the reason those were segregated from the rest was because we were specifically working out arrangements with Milford Regional Hospital on some of the issues that surround the taking. Long story short, we received a call towards the end of November from MassDOT with respect to the takings. There is apparently some sort of a problem, and it works to our advantage. They have asked us if we will take 2 properties which we were not previously scheduled to take. If we take these properties, everything will move along smoothly and we'll still be on schedule. If we don't take these properties, which were originally to be taken by the state, then the state needs to do something else other than what has been done so far, and as a result, the project will be off schedule slightly. So they asked us if we would please do these takings, and in exchange for that, they will do all the Milford Regional Hospital takings. So I took a look at that, and the cost for us to do the Milford Regional takings was something in the neighborhood of $14,000 to $16,000. There were 5 or 6 takings that would be involved. So the state will do those takings, and in exchange, will compensate, issue the pro tanto payment to Milford Regional, et cetera. We, on the other hand, will be doing 2 takings, one at 5 Elm Street and the other at 23 Green Street. These are both temporary easements, so there's not going to be anything that's taken away from the property. The only thing we'll be using is we'll be entering on the property to redo connections, walkways, driveways, and things like that that will be disconnected during the course of construction, will then be reconnected, and in-kind materials will be used so that they'll look substantially as they did or better than when we did the takings. The cost between the two, one taking is $835, the other is $1,125. So essentially, the state, for whatever reason, had an issue, and they agreed to take on $15,000, $16,000 worth of takings, and have asked us in exchange to take on less than $2,000. So, sounds like a good deal, and I didn't think we would refuse it. It's to our advantage. I think it's also, in some regards, to Milford Regional's advantage as well to be dealing with the state on all of their takings. What they would have been dealing with is the state on the majority of takings and then 5 or 6 with us. So if you were to vote this evening to do these takings, what would happen is you would sign the order of taking, and then sometime in the next 30 days, we'd record them, and then we'd begin issuing notices to the property owners that the pro tanto payments are available, and having them come in and sign their receipt. I will tell you that, just as a point of information, since you did do this order of taking back on November 19th, we recorded it at the Worcester Registry of Deeds along with the easement plans that were prepared by our engineer, not the state's. Those went on record December 19th. We have a schedule of payments, and the checks are being cut. Once the checks are cut, the letters will go out, so I'm anticipating in the next week or so, we might be scheduling people to come in and receive the payments on the last taking. This one will go even more smoothly. There is actually the possibility that I could take it and record it tomorrow. So I think in every respect, this is a positive for the town, and it does allow us to keep the Route 16 project on schedule, and I would strongly recommend that you vote to approve the takings.
Will?
Yeah, I don't have any questions, Charles. You did a great job of explaining all this, and this has been something we've been a part of for, the past year. So if you have questions, I'll wait, or I can make a motion to.
Don't make a motion. I don't have any questions at all. I go with town council's recommendation.
You got it. I'll make a motion to approve the land takings at 5 Elm Street and 23 A and B Green Street.
I would second that and make that unanimous.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. And the next scheduled appointment is Cedar Donuts, again, a common viculars license.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, one more thing for Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, town council.
Oh, surplus properties, I'm sorry, I missed that.
That's okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is new. This has got a new section
Okay,
to it.
all right.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and Selectman Kincaid, this is a request to determine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 properties as surplus. The background behind this, I'm just going to explain. I don't have a position, a strong position one way or another on this. I'm just going to explain what the basis of this is. There are 5 properties. The 4 out of the 5 are landlocked parcels. They're actually quite small compared to parcels that surround them. On the second page of what I've just given you this evening is a printout of a map dated December 12, 2018. The parcels have been identified, the subject parcels have been identified on this plan by the town planner, Larry Duncan. These parcels are town-owned, and there has been an expression of interest by an abutter in purchasing these parcels from the town. The majority of the parcels, probably, well, the assessed values are listed as appraised values, but the assessed values are on the cover memo to you. They range from $14,300 up to $131,700. I think in some instances, the values are inflated because 4 out of the 5 are landlocked, and I can't imagine that in a fair market, you'd be paying $97,000 for a parcel that you have no access to. But, in any event, the reason this is in front of you is if the town were so inclined to sell one or more of these parcels, we would first have to determine that the property is surplus, make a declaration of surplus, and then determine on what basis the property might be disposed of to a third party. The background, again, is that there is, I don't know who it is, but there is an abutter who is interested in purchasing these 5 parcels and has asked if the town would be willing to sell these parcels so that they could be acquired and then combined with the abutting parcel for future use. I'm going to say sometime early to mid-December, Town Administrator Attorney Villani issued a notice to all department heads inquiring as to whether there was any foreseeable need for the town to keep these properties, to use it for whatever, whether it be a park, a school, or any other municipal purpose. There was, at that time, no response that there was a need. And on that basis, this was then placed on the agenda for the Board of Selectmen to determine whether they would like to declare these surplus and entertain offers from anyone interested in purchasing them. As of this morning, I was informed by the town planner, however, of a couple of things, and I think it is worth noting. I asked him if he wanted to attend tonight. He did not, but I want to at least express what he conveyed to me so that you have full information when you make any decision this evening. He said that these 5 parcels are all, they've been acquired over time by the town. They are all part of the Charles River Watershed Protection Area. They are open space, and they abut open space in Hopkinton. So to the extent that that has any bearing on the Board of Selectmen, you should know that. As you can see, some of these parcels are, looks like vestiges of parcels of land that were taken originally by the state in constructing Interstate Route 495. Today, those little parcels probably are meaningless unless they were either A, used by us for open space, or conveyed to someone else who owns abutting parcels and then could somehow redevelop them, whether it be for residential or commercial purposes. So, what am I asking you to do this evening? Again, as requested by the abutter, this is before you to determine whether there's any interest in the town on declaring them surplus, and that would be based on no returns from any department head saying that there was an interest in the town using this for some purpose in the foreseeable future, but also somewhat tempered by Town Planner Larry Duncan's thoughts that this is part of a greater open space area that is worthy of preservation by the town. So if you were to not declare it surplus, this matter would be ended here. There'd be nothing further. If you were to vote to declare it surplus, all that means is that we don't have a foreseeable need, and we can entertain the possibility of selling it to anyone. It doesn't have to be this interested party. It could be anyone. There are a couple of different ways, and that would be, well, I'll get to that in a second. There are a couple of different ways by which this could be disposed of. One would be a direct disposition. If a property has an estimated value of less than $36,000, Mass General Laws, Chapter 30B, I think it's Section 16, which deals with acquisitions and dispositions of real estate, would allow us to sell it without a competitive process. I'm not sure in the case of landlocked land if a competitive process would really avail us of competitive bids, because frankly, if it's landlocked, the only party who could take advantage of the use of the land would be a direct abutter. But in any event, one of them does come with some frontage, so that's something to note as well. So if it's under $35,000, or I should say $35,000 or less, then we could entertain a direct disposition. If it's valued at more than $35,000, then we would have to do some sort of a public process. It could be an invitation for, or a request for proposals, where somebody could come in, we could tailor what we'd want to see there, and someone would come in and make proposals, and based upon the qualifications of the proposal, we would evaluate it and make a recommendation. The other possibility would just be an invitation for bid and allow people to come in and bid competitively, and the highest bid would get it with no restrictions on it whatsoever. So the two different, or three, depending on how you look at it, different methods that we could sell this. One would be direct disposition, and the second and third are kind of go hand in hand with each other. One would be an invitation for bid, the other be a request for proposals, if we wanted to consider how it would be reused. In either event, before the property would be sold, it would have to come back to the Board of Selectmen for an additional vote. We couldn't just turn around with your vote today and say, well, we're going to sell it. We would have to come back. I will say one final thing, I think, and that is that these values that are assigned here in the memorandum that you've received this evening are the appraised values based on the assessor's appraisals of the property. Doesn't mean that they're accurate. As we know, typically, an assessed value is going to be less than a market value. Again, not so sure that's the case. This is a kind of a rare situation where these are landlocked parcels, and it might warrant us, if we were to declare them surplus and were to consider selling them, it might warrant us going back and getting brokers' price opinions on these parcels to see what they would come up. And if we were to do that, I would recommend that we use the same person who's done the evaluations, Mr. Curley, for the eminent domain takings, simply because he's an expert in the field and he's a fantastic witness if we get into that, and I rely on him very heavily. So that's it this evening. I don't advocate one way or another. I just explain the process and bring it in front of you for your consideration and determination as to what action, if any, you'd like to take.
Well,
Sure. No, my gut reaction is, I'm not sure why we would, want to hold on to them. I mean, I certainly respect open space and green space, but again, these are landlocked, as you said several times, and, I think if, we can generate revenue, especially for abutters who are really the only ones that are going to be able to benefit from this land. I mean, unless there's something here I'm not seeing or picking up on, I would think that we could at least declare them surplus. I don't see this harm in that, but that's my thinking.
well, I think what's important is that they're, first of all, they're landlocked. They're not on the tax roll right now at all, so the town of Milford owns them. We're getting absolutely no tax income from them at all. And whether the abutter is the purchasing agent or somebody else purchases them, they'll go back onto the tax roll to become, income generating for the town, plus what we're going to sell them for. So I as well, they're just sitting there right now. Every department head has basically said they have no use for them. So why would we as a community want to hold on to them when we can turn them into, income generating properties for the people of the town of Milford? So I would agree with you on that.
Do we want to declare them surplus tonight
Yes.
then? Okay. Charles, is there anything else?
No, I mean, obviously, whatever step we take next is going to have to come back. And if we do sell the property, assuming that we did, it would be, again, require you to consider the sale and to agree to it and vote in favor of it. But also, any future use would certainly have to be in compliance with zoning and the other general bylaws of the town.
And again, you said you didn't know the individual, and that's fine. I certainly don't need to know.
Oh, and I prefer it that way, to be quite honest.
Absolutely.
I really don't.
My own
yeah.
curiosity is, though, because again, people will be talking, that we actually, I certainly have no idea who approached the town, but how did they approach the town if we don't know who they are? Does an attorney reach
was
out to you folks or something like that?
Someone approached one of the selectmen and Mr. Villani, and I was in the middle of those conversations. That's how I found out about it. And I've been shepherding it through the process just to get it before you for consideration.
Okay.
for
No,
due
no,
consideration.
I appreciate that, because again, I was
Yeah.
just,
And
if someone
you know,
anonymously somehow reaches out and, before that turns into a topic of conversation, I just wanted to address it. But, yeah, I'll make a motion to declare, these 5 properties that you've shown, and they are mostly along Interstate 495 for surplus properties.
And I would second that and make that unanimous.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Just so you're aware, what I will do next is I'll have a meeting with the town administrator. We'll discuss what additional steps need to be taken, and we'll obviously keep you apprised through the administrator as to what goes on. And ultimately, if we're moving forward with it, there'll be some sort of a public advertisement and some, for the sale. And
Thank you very much.
We'll be advised before that goes into print.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Charles.
you for all your work. Thank you. And now our final scheduled appointments. Cedar Donuts, a new common vicular license. Come on right up. How are you?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm good, thank
Hey,
you.
Anita. Good.
Go ahead, state your name and,
Anita Hool, Cedar Donuts, DBA Duncan, 111 Cedar Street in Milford. New location, we're scheduled to open, go live 10 a.m. tomorrow.
okay. So again, I have your application here in department head review form. Building commissioner, restrooms, everything is fine, town planner, okay, no outstanding liens.
No.
Tax collector, the same, fire chief, no objections, police chief, no issues or concerns, and board of health is on board as well.
There's only one thing I could, Mr. Chairman, indicate, the building commissioner indicated in his entry, just so everybody's aware, there's no certificate of occupancy this time due to sewer issues. I did confirm this morning that those sewer issues have been resolved to the satisfaction of
Okay.
Mr. Mainini, the Director of Sewer Operations. So I guess my only question is, do you have the certificate of
I
occupancy
do,
yet?
we came down at 7:15 this morning.
Okay.
And we do have the occupancies. I can state, though, I do have to bring mine back, because they made it out to Cedar Enterprise.
So it's just a formality
Just a
on the name.
formality,
Okay.
but when I come in tomorrow to pick up the common vic, I will bring that with me and go down to building.
I just want the board to be aware those sewer issues have been resolved.
Okay.
All permit fees and everything have been paid with the sewer
Okay,
district.
thank
Okay?
you.
With that, I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the common victular license for Cedar Donuts, DBA Duncan.
And I would second that and make that unanimous.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Nice
you
to
very
see you.
much. Have a nice night.
Thanks, you also.
Take care now.
Take care now.
Yes, you'll come to my house.
Because I need it before 10, right? Before we go live?
Yeah, just give me a little time to have my assistant prepare it. Yeah, say.
Thank you.
The next agenda item is the town administrator's report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. A number of items tonight. One, I hope everybody has seen that the flex post media markers within the Route 85 Cedar Street roadway immediately north of the intersection with Fortune Boulevard and Diller Street have been installed. I've heard positive reports regarding them. I do want to recognize Highway Surveyor Scott Christofouli for overseeing this project. The second item is that the Finance Director, Zach Taylor, has informed me that the standard mileage reimbursement rate has been increased by the IRS by 3.5 cents and is now 58 cents per mile. If you remember, the board at a past meeting voted to implement the rates that were adopted by the IRS, so there's no need for a vote. I do want to also, I'm pleased to report that we received all current tax payments and entered into one repayment agreement from all liquor license holders in town. So I want to thank the liquor license holders. They've been extremely cooperative and supportive in response to the process that this board has put in. I want to also congratulate and thank the auxiliary police officers for their tremendous efforts in raising monies and food donations for the food pantry. This is something they do, as you know, each and every year, and thank you also to every person who donated to this most worthy cause. Jen Ward, our Youth Center Director, wants to thank a number of individuals and companies. These are individuals and companies who donated, and they allowed the Youth Center to distribute over 120 gifts this holiday season. Those individuals and companies are United Way of Tri-County, Inspire Dance Academy, Anytime Fitness of Medway, BST MMA in Mendon, Waters Corporation, Cycle Bar in Milford, Karen Kelly, Elizabeth Covell, Susan Schiavi, Rocky Lynch, Joanne Urella, Courtney Walsh, Beth Fraunfelter, and Kate Rose. Thank you to all of them and to the employees and volunteers at the Youth Center. One last item. I want to update the board on where we are with the 109 Beaver Street Stop and Shop intersection vis-a-vis the intersection itself and lights. According to Mike Dean, our town engineer, the developer of the Stop and Shop Plaza has been evaluating changing the one-way Beaver Street into a two-way traffic flow. He has in fact hired traffic engineers to prepare a traffic report, schematics, and visual modeling. All of these were submitted to Mass DOT District 3, showing that they believe a two-way traffic pattern can work with modification to the signalization at the Beaver Street and Medway Street intersection, as well as the lights at the 495 southbound off ramps. They believe this can be done without impacting the vehicles coming off of the 495 ramps. The town also has been involved and prepared documents in support of changing Beaver Street into a two-way traffic flow. Town engineer Mike Dean and town planner Larry Duncan are working on this. In fact, the owner, the proponents, traffic engineers, the town engineer, and the town planner met at District 3 a couple of months ago to discuss and present the project to Mass DOT. This project will be accomplished hopefully with signalization and some modification to the traveled ways, which may involve widening of these roadways. Following the submission of the information in their meeting with Mass DOT, they have now going to ask the owner's engineers to evaluate traffic on Saturday and peak conditions. They want to ensure that there'll be no issues of traffic backups on the off-ramps from 495 on a Saturday. The traffic engineers will in fact be performing this evaluation this coming weekend, this Saturday. The conversion to a two-way seems to be viable at this point, but the final decision from Mass DOT will come after the additional information is submitted. One other item the town engineer wants the board to be aware of that is ongoing is the current traffic patterns at the intersection of Beaver Street and Medway Road, Route 109. More specifically, the cars traveling eastbound on Route 109 and trying to take a left onto Beaver Street to travel northbound. As the board knows, currently there is no dedicated turn signal for this left turn, and there isn't even at this point an advanced green light for this left turn. As we all know, that makes a left turn onto Beaver Street very challenging with the 3 lanes of oncoming traffic that everyone needs to contend with. Over the past few months, the developer, again, of Milford Shopping Plaza, has had their engineers prepare traffic studies, reports, and design plans to add signals or lights to the intersection. The plans also include a new phasing plan for the traffic signals to accommodate the new traffic lights, allowing for a dedicated left turn and signal light. This will include some modifications and installation of new signal poles. The design is not yet 100% complete, and again, the town is working with the property owner on this. So that is the progress to date made on this issue. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Rick. Will, you have any questions?
No, no, thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, next agenda item is old business, and first agenda item is restaurant, and again, I apologize, Bahia Bakery, looking to change. I'm good. Looking to change your hours of operation on a common viculars license.
Yeah, that's right.
So if I read your application, you're looking to go from 5 a.m. to 12 midnight.
Yeah, that's right.
That's correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And what are your present hours now?
It's 9 to 10.
Okay. Okay, department head review form. Building commissioner, restrooms are handicapped accessible. Town planner, okay, no actual change. Tax collector, no outstanding liens. Town treasurer, no outstanding taxes. Fire chief, approval. Police chief, no issues or concerns. And the Board of Health has no issues with the listed change of hours with this establishment. And with that, Will?
Yeah, no, I don't have any questions, and I'll make a motion to amend the existing license for Bahia and Bakery at 94 Main Street, which will be Monday through Sunday from 5 a.m. to 12 midnight.
And I would second that and make that unanimous.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Thank you for everything you do in our community.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, next old business, Rick, the town administrator, the job description on technology
Yes,
support.
we have, I should say Maureen Giffen, our HR director, Andrew Diorio, our IT manager, Zach Taylor, who runs day-to-day IT, and myself. We have reviewed the job description. We have gotten also input from Town Council Charles Body. It has been revised. The description before you is the final job description that everyone is comfortable with. I will tell you, it was also presented to the Personnel Board, and they have approved it at a meeting last, I believe, Wednesday. So we'd be asking the board to approve this job description, and then we would go out, Maureen and Andy would go out and, with my assistance, put the position out there, so that we can look to interview applicants for a new, technology support technician.
Will?
Nope, I don't have any questions.
I think the only thing that I would like to add to that, I think what's important is that, to know that the Personnel Board has given it their
Yes, they have.
approval.
Yep.
And our new Personnel Director has also worked on it.
Maureen has really worked very hard. I want to commend her and all the other individuals, but Maureen has worked very diligently on this, yes.
I would entertain a motion,
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve the job description for the technology support technician.
and I
Thank you.
second that and make that unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, new business, War Memorial Committee applications.
Yes, there are 5 applicants before you. If you remember, the board did authorize up to 15 members
Okay,
for that committee. They currently have 10. So these 5 members that are listed there are the talent bank applications and/or letters or emails of application are before you. Should the board approve all 5, this would complete the membership for that committee. They have had a number of meetings. I did attend the last one. It's a very hardworking, diligent group. And again, this, should the board tonight approve these 5 members, will complete the membership of that committee.
Will?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jeff Nero, Vincent Kizo, Joseph Lutfi, John Pilla, and Frank Andriotti Jr. to the War Memorial Renovation Committee.
I apologize, was that 5?
Yes. Right, Jeff, Vinnie, Joe, John, and Frank, yep.
Right.
And I will second that and make that unanimous as well. And that will max out that committee.
That will make 15 members for that committee. Yep.
Okay. Okay, next new business is inspectors of animals reappointment. I take that to be the dog officer.
Yes, every year, according to statute, the board must nominate inspector of animals by April 1st. Rochelle Thompson has been the inspector since May of 2007. She's also serves as the animal control officer since 2004. Keith Haynes has been the assistant animal control officer since around August 2004. So if the board is so willing, we would look for a motion to appoint them to the positions. Again, this has to be done on a yearly basis per statute.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we appoint Rochelle Thompson as the Inspector of Animals.
And I would second that and make that unanimous as well.
And I'd also like to make a motion that we appoint Keith Haynes as the Assistant Animal Control Officer.
And I would vote and make that unanimous as well.
Thank you.
And the last new business item we have is the Milford Youth Center. Correct me, Rick, if I'm wrong, it's a gift from Alivi and Braza?
Yeah, Alavi and Braza PC,
Alavi
they're a
and
local
Braza.
law firm here in Milford.
Okay. Total amount of the gift to the Milford Youth Center is $2,000.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the very generous gift from Alavi and Braza PC to the Youth Center for $2,000.
And I would vote and make that unanimous as well. And I would like to say, and Rick, of course, you'll get a letter out to them
Yes. Oh, yes.
thanking them.
Yeah.
Just another example of the buy-in that companies in this community have in that youth center. A lot of people realize the passion that I have for that building, and if you could see the good work that goes on in that building every single day, and it's businesses like this that continually give back to the community. So I just wanted to say thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, next agenda item is correspondence, and this is basically from the police chief. Annual license establishments, activity reports. I've had a chance to look it over. I'm sure you have, Will, as well. I don't,
Yes. Yep, and I have no concerns, no
Yeah.
questions.
no, none at all.
Okay.
And the other one is, of course, from the building inspector, the task force. Again, I'd like to say to them, thank you for the good work that they're doing for the community. Very detailed report. Rick, I know that you sit on that committee as well. You're
Yes,
comfortable with it?
we meet monthly. We're meeting this Wednesday again. It's actually working, I think, very well with all the people's input, and we're seeing a lot of progress. I'm very pleased with that right now.
Will?
No, I feel the same way. A lot of work's getting done from a very small group of people, and Rick, I appreciate that.
And I think, you know, what's important for the general public to know is that, you know, as the Board of Selectmen, we have to rely on people that we appoint to their positions or have responsibilities to their positions, and we have to rely on their input. And so, Rick, I thank you and your committee
Thank you.
for the good work that you're doing working on that. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We did have an executive session scheduled tonight for police collective bargaining. Unfortunately, Selectman Buckley, a little under the weather, and he and I are the only ones that can vote on police bargaining. So the executive session for police bargaining has been postponed. So there is no executive session. So with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn,
I'll make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
and I would second that and make that unanimous. Good night, everybody, and thank you very much for watching the Milford Board of Selectmen's meeting.